No fear. No fear.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Unko Funki show. Today we're lucky to have Matisyahu with us here on the banks of the Wailua. Hey Matis, thanks for coming to Kauai.
Thank you.
I hear you had a fun show at Oahu last night.
Yes.
And looking forward to more fun. By the time you guys see this, he will already have had some fun here on Kauai. Let's start when you were a little guy. When did you first start messing around with music?
I guess I kind of always was into music. My parents played a lot of good music around the house. They're from the era, you know, the hippie era. So there was a lot of good music being played, and I was always kind of a little bit of a performer and kind of singing and, you know, in choruses and school shows and camp shows and all that kind of stuff. So it was always kind of what I did. And then I guess as I became a teenager and I started to form kind of my own, more of my own identity and kind of listen to my own music, you know, that's when I started to kind of write songs and raps and get into beatboxing and all that kind of stuff.
And I noticed that you collaborate with that guy, Kenny Muhammad.
I have, yeah, a couple of times.
And I thought that was kind of refreshing because could you explain to me how your religious orientation affects your music?
Yeah, I sort of, my music has always been kind of centered around some kind of spirituality, or even with Judaism, it's some sort of at the focus point of it. Before I was religious, when I was about 16, I went to Israel, and I had a strong experience there, and a lot of imagery kind of stayed in my mind. And from that time, I was there for a few months. And when I started kind of writing raps and stuff, I would pull on that imagery a lot.
Like what kind of imagery?
Like, for example, I remember, you know, walking in the old city and seeing Hasidic guys sort of like on Rosh Hashanah all praying together, and crammed in a room with the taluses and the beard and the whole thing. And I felt a sort of pull to that to some degree. And then I started to, as I started getting more into music and spirituality and believing in God, and trying to kind of elevate my consciousness and deepen my consciousness, I always kind of came back to, you know, who am I and what's my kind of spiritual heritage. And that's sort of when I kind of took the trip and started getting more into Judaism. And as I did that, and I started kind of then to express the music more and more, I sort of used that as a sort of a place of inspiration, you know, a place to get inspiration. So when I started then learning, let's say, the Torah or Hasidut or Kabbalah, you know, all the Jewish mysticism, all these different things, I would find lines, I would find ideas and things, and all my lyrics and my inspiration started to kind of like get centered around that, and that became kind of the center point of my music.
That's interesting, and I'm wondering, like when I first saw Bob Marley, I was wondering, how can people like white people or fraternity boys or whatever kind of shocked me, because all these people that weren't looking like Bob Marley were adoring his music and getting inspired by his message. So when that comes flipping around to you, and you've got a lot of fans, I bet most of your fans come from a wide base of culture, you might say. And so what would you say to, like, a lot of kids today don't believe in God, you know, and the media that they're always watching kind of glorifies violence and ego and all that other kind of stuff. What kind of message do you have in your music for, like, some regular kids who just like your music?
I think that the words that you put to music kind of, you know, it has an effect. And I think that music in itself is kind of the thing, is like, they're really like the holy thing. They're really the powerful, transporting thing, yeah. And so, you know, it sort of cheapens it to take the music and then you know, use it for self-serving or ego or negative kind of powers that are in the world, negative things. and then kids start to get attached to those things that
Yeah.
people are talking about. So for me, it's just about sort of, you know, still channeling the music, but putting just meaning into it, meaningful words. And I guess the kids, you know, it's not also black and white, you know, because, you know, kids find meaning, you know, even in, you know, in different things that I might not, you know, say feel as meaningful, you know. I try not to judge too much other people's music and other words, and just kind of go with what I know, you know, to be true for me, and follow my path, you know, and just create the music with meaning, and see how that resonates with people, you know, just like Bob Marley's music resonated with me, white Jewish kid from the suburbs in New York, you know,
Who else
20 years
influenced you?
after he died.
Yeah.
So same thing with me. I think music can speak to anybody.
Well, let me think. I kind of ran over into your sentence.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Who else influenced you?
I got influence from, you know, the records that were being played in my house was, you know, Fleetwood Mac, Crosby, Stills and Nash Young, Neil Young, and Grateful Dead, and then I got into
Hippie
Fish.
Child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started to get more into hip hop music, like artists like Nas or Outkast were big influences for me.
So maybe you would say more of the alternative hip hop type.
Like I would say Outkast and Nas are both pretty mainstream, but definitely more on the conscious side.
Right.
Of hip hop. Yeah.
So the point I was trying to bring up when I was asking you about that collaboration with the guy Kenny Muhammad is to all of us in the world right now, like the Middle East is such a cauldron of controversy. What do you have hope? What's your feeling about that?
Well, no, I don't. I mean, I do have hope.
No, forget it.
I do have hope, you know, but in terms of any kind of practical, you know, my hope kind of lies in God and sort of above reality type of stuff when it comes to the Middle East. But when it comes to practicality, you look, there's certain things that can help. You know, music I think can help. You know, things that can build bridges. You know, it's important. It's important for people to, you know, to talk to each other, to relate to each other as humans. You know, too many times everyone forgets about the humanity and just gets caught up in what people are telling them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
my feeling is that there can only be one God. I mean, God to me means that is beyond human, basically, comprehension. So that thing that is above us. So don't you think that there can only be one God?
Yeah, I do, for sure. That's sort of the central theme of Judaism.
Yeah.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad means one.
Well,
God is one.
Right on. Well, we kind of wrapped everything up. What's your favorite kind of breakfast cereal?
My favorite cereal, as a kid growing up, it was Golden Grams.
Golden Grams.
That was the sweet cereal that my mother would let me have. That was like, sugar was like the third ingredient. It wasn't the second ingredient, but it still tasted sweet.
So what do you tell young musicians that are just starting out? Like, you have kind of struck out and made your own path for yourself. What would you tell the young people?
Same thing. I say just follow your heart, and if you have a love for music, whatever aspect it is, you know, just go after that. Keep going with it. Develop it. Work at it. Be open to learning from different people. Trust yourself. That you'll know what to take and what not to take. What advice to use. A big thing for me was it kind of was first about developing the style, you know, and the passion and the love and then later on to develop the technical side. You know, I think most people learn an instrument and then they kind of develop STEM. But for me, it worked kind of the opposite way. So, that's everything.
Well, that's real cool, and I'm really happy that you've made it as far as you've made it on such a positive message. That's really inspiring for a lot of people. So Keep up the good work. Say hi to Jordan when we get back to
I
New
will,
York
yeah,
City.
I'll do that.
And aloha. Thank you all guys for coming over and listen to Matis. He's got. When's your new stuff coming out?
New record is out. It's out. It's called Light, and that's the.
Oh, that is the new.
That's the new
That's
record.
the new.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I heard some cuts from that. They're really inspiring.
Oh,
Thank you. Aloha, guys. See you next time.